Hello friends, I am Vitaly Portnikov. After several rounds of negotiations, observers in the West are beginning to conclude that the search for ways to end the Russo-Ukrainian war is at a deadlock. The participants in the negotiations are quite optimistic and speak about the talks being constructive and leading to progress. Yet, on the fundamental issues of these negotiations, those that, for instance, Finnish President Alexander Stubb characterizes as having only a 5% agreement rate, there is no compromise yet. Without finding this compromise, it is not worth talking about any real peace process at all. The territorial question. The first issue where a compromise cannot be reached is the territorial question. The Russian Federation continues to insist that its territorial gains in Ukraine since 2014 must be legally recognized. And, of course, it insists on the withdrawal of Ukrainian troops from the territory of the Donetsk region, and, as can be understood from the statements of Russian President Putin, not only from Donetsk but also from Kherson and Zaporizhia. Ukraine, on the other hand, resolutely opposes recognizing the annexations of its territory by an aggressive neighboring state. Even U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly said that Putin wanted all of Ukraine, and it is completely unclear where the idea comes from that the Russian president is ready to be satisfied with only a few Ukrainian regions. Furthermore, when it comes to Donbass, the question is, why should Ukraine give up territory that it is effectively defending? U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance admits that Ukraine can defend Donbass for another year, although he emphasizes that in private, Ukrainian negotiators have signaled that they might actually lose control over this territory in the Donetsk region. However, right now, the issue isn't so much the fact of losing control as it is the pace of that loss. If Ukraine can hold back the Russian army in the Donetsk region for another year or more, it means all of Russia's resources will be directed toward capturing just a portion of one Ukrainian region. Thus, Russia's ambitions regarding other territorial seizures will, to put it mildly, be diminished. Conversely, if the Russian Federation captures part of the Donetsk region with its fortress cities, without a fight, it will mean an operational space opens up for Russia to seize other Ukrainian regions, at the very least, establishing control over the Ukrainian left bank. Security guarantees. Of course, the answer to this could be that security issues, which are also being discussed in negotiations, would serve as a guarantee that this doesn't happen. But on this front, there is no concrete information either. This is no longer just a Russo-Ukrainian dialogue, although it is obvious Russia will oppose any security guarantees that make further Russian aggression against our state impossible. But for Russia to have the chance to say no, the United States and other Western countries must first say yes to Ukraine. This concerns what the realistic security guarantees for Ukraine will be if the U.S. continues to block Ukraine's NATO membership, and thus the application of Article 5. That article would at least create the chance for direct participation of the US and other Western countries in a war with Russia in the event of a repeated attack on Ukraine. This would effectively put the Russian Federation in the face of a threat of a major nuclear war, including the use of strategic nuclear weapons, which could end Russia's history, and perhaps the history of the United States. When two nuclear superpowers face the possibility of annihilation as a result of U.S. legal obligations, that would become a reliable guarantee that a new war does not start. However, Trump's United States, though why only Trump? His predecessors weren't thrilled with the idea either, resolutely opposes Ukraine joining NATO. So, what are the compensatory security guarantees? There is no concrete answer to this question either. Perhaps because no such guarantees exist in nature, and they are being invented in the hope that they will scare the Russian Federation. The strategy of containment. Since the negotiators cannot come up with anything serious from the American side, the concrete question returns to the forefront. If there are no real security guarantees, perhaps it is worth containing Russia in Donbass? This would involve destroying its army and its military and demographic potential, thereby making the occupation of other parts of Ukrainian territory impossible. Why give Russia additional opportunities for occupation when Western countries, and primarily the U.S., are not ready to devise security guarantees that even remotely resemble Article 5? Furthermore, we do not even know if Article 5 will remain effective in the Trump era. Next year, we might see that even these security guarantees are in vain. For instance, if Putin decides to attack a European NATO country, and the United States, instead of striking Russian military targets, sends Steve Witkoff to Moscow to negotiate joint economic projects in the Arctic. I would not be surprised if that were this administration's reaction to a threat to its allies. In this situation, one might hope the US could exert pressure on Russia to force a ceasefire, and then, as logic would dictate, rather than the abracadabra we see from Witkoff and Kushner, negotiate a real peace. This requires the kind of pressure Senator Lindsey Graham is talking about. If Putin refuses a realistic peace deal, provide Ukraine with enough weapons, including Tomahawks, to destroy Russia's military and oil refining potential and turn the Russian economy into ruins. However, so far, we have seen no real desire from President Donald Trump or his associates to move from the world of illusions, where the American president has resided since entering the Oval Office, into the real world. In the real world, the main issues are war, peace, and survival, not Melania Trump's wardrobe, which the current American president discusses with such pleasure with his adoring fans. Thank you, friends. Stay tuned to this channel, subscribe to my social media, and support me on Patreon, buy me a coffee, and Donatello to help develop these resources. Use the YouTube sponsorship feature as well. Victory and peace to you. Good luck.